breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
Warm and friendly hello. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. We've got an excellent podcast for you. We're going to be joined in segment number 2 by a good friend of ours. We're going to be chatting it up with William Boor, who does such great work over at Action Network. We're going to be talking with him about what we've all seen here the first 3 or so weeks of the season. Out of all these surprise young teams, which ones have the most staying power? We'll dive into the games that we've got for Friday as well. And then in the final segment, going to get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Friday as we touch them all. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you do have one of two ways to be able to fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, LRCM, the mean does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. The other way is via an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. Well, I did not get in any Twitter/X questions today. We had a great day of baseball on Thursday. Let's take a look back at it, try to find some trends, and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
The Washington Nationals offense just continues to mash. They find a way to get the job done, 8-7 in extra innings against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Now, big reason why they were able to get things going was that Colton Griffin had a really, really bad error out there in the field, and he did have 2 hits in the game, but for the Pirates, he had Braxton Ashcraft go 5 2/3 innings. He allows 5 runs. Only 2 of those were earned because of that error, and there were 4 errors in total out there in the field. So Evan Sisk, he gives up a run in a third of an inning. You don't mess with Yohan Ramirez. He gives up a run in an inning. Isaac Madsen, both he and Justin Lawrence come in for a scoreless inning. Dennis Santana gives up an unearned run in the 10th inning. And then on the flip side for the Nationals, Foster Griffin, not his sharpest start. 4 runs allowed in 5 1/3 innings. Marcell Ozuna, first home run as a member of the Pittsburgh Pirates. From there, Paxton Schultz gives up 2 runs in a third of an inning. PJ Poulin, Gus Farland, they both give you a pair of outside the bullpen scoreless. Cionel Perez, a scoreless inning. Orlando Revolta, a scoreless inning. And then Clayton Beeter. Well, he gets beat. He does give up a run in an inning. That led to extras. But for the Nationals, they're now 8-5 away from home. So good on them. And this was good. The San Francisco Giants, 3-0. They're able to take down the Cincinnati Reds. For Jace Burns, nice start here. 2 hits, no runs allowed in 6 innings. And then Brock and Rollberg, he was done in by an Ellie De La Cruz fielding error. 2/3 of an inning, he gives up 3 unearned runs. From there, you have Sam Bull, Kyle Nicholas, both give you a pair of outside the bullpen scoreless. Connor Phillips, a scoreless inning, but for the Reds, they just could not get to the Giants pitching. Landon Roop, 6 scoreless innings, gives up only 1 hit. From there, Ryan Walker, Keaton Wynn, Eric Miller, all deliver scoreless innings, all do so without giving up a single run. For the Detroit Tigers, 10-9, they're able to get the job done against Kansas City Royals. For Chris with K. Bubich, gives up 5 runs over the course of 4 2/3 innings, and you would have Dylan Dingler a little bit later on go deep off of John Schreiber. That's his 4th home run of the campaign. Schreiber gives up that home run in a third of an inning. Alex Lang, Daniel Lynch both give you a scoreless inning. Mears gives up a run in an inning, and then Lucas Ursa, John, to close out the game, gives up 3 runs in the 9th. Colt Keith, his RBI single, gets the job done as Kadir Montero, or like Montero Bull, gives up 4 runs over the course of 6 innings. From there, Derek Anderson, 3 runs allowed in a third of an inning. Tyler Holton, he gives up a home run in a third of an inning going deep. You had home run number 3 of the campaign for Salvador Perez, and Vinny Pasquantino gets on the board. He goes deep off of Connor Siebold. 1 1/3 innings, gives up that solo home run, and Emmanuel De Jesus, he was able to supply a scoreless inning of his own. And then you had not a lot of scoreless innings in this game. The LA Angels, they take it to the New York Yankees, 11-4 the final. Max Fried, he gives up 3 hits, 5 runs in 5 1/3 innings, including a home run. It was Oswald Peraza getting his 4th home run in the campaign. Later on, Mike Trout, 7th home run of the season, 4th home run in this series. He went deep in all 4 games on El Shavili. newly picked up from the Colorado Rockies. He ends up giving up that home run, and then you would have a little bit later on in the game another home runner out loud as Ryan Yarbrough. He goes for 2 1/3 innings. He gives up 4 runs, all of which were earned as he was taken deep by Mr. Joe Adels. That's fired to the rain. 3rd home run in the campaign for Shavili. Gives up that home run in 2/3 of an inning of work himself, and then for Nick Sandlin, would give up a home run in 1 1/3 innings, gives up 2 runs in total as going deep off of him. John Carlos Sainz, 2nd home run of the season. Aaron Judge up to 8 home runs. He goes deep off of Brent Suter, who was pretty much the opener in this game. Gives up that home run in 2 innings of work. Sam Algieri, he gives one up to Ben Wright's 5th home run in the campaign in 1 2/3 innings. Sam Bachman, 3 scoreless innings. Chase Silseth, 8 scoreless inning. Things a little bit more tame out there in Cleveland as Parker Messick, he goes 8 innings. He does give up 2 runs, both of which were in the 9th inning. He was working on a shutout and a no-hitter going into the 9th inning. 4-2 Guardians do get the job done, and then Cade Smith from there, he was able to get a scoreless inning to be able to get the job done for a save. The Wizard of Boz, Shane Boz, 4 runs allowed over the course of 6 innings, including a home run to Jose Ramirez, who is really starting to heat up. That's home run number 4 of the campaign. Tyler Wells, he would get an out of the bullpen scoreless, and Cameron Foster in his MLB debut, 1 2/3 innings, but by then the damage had been very much done, and there's been a lot of damage done to the Chicago White Sox this year. So 6-13 to start the season, 5-3. The Tampa Bay Rays find a way to persevere in this one. Steven Matz, 5 1/3 innings, allows 2 runs, including a home run as he was taken deep by Miguel Vargas, his 2nd home run of the campaign. And Everson Piera has been really good for the Chicago White Sox team here recently. 3rd home run of the season. That comes off of Kevin Kelly, who allows that home run over the course of 2 innings of work. Griffin Jacks, he gets jacks up for a pair of outside the bullpen scoreless. Brian Baker, scoreless inning, and it was a wholesale approach for the White Sox as Anthony Kay only lasts 2 2/3 innings as the bulk guy, allows 1 run. Jordan Liediger, the opener, 4 outside the bullpen scoreless. Jordan Nix, a scoreless inning. Sean Newcomb, 5 outside the bullpen scoreless, but Grant Taylor, he gives up a run in 1 1/3 innings, and then late in the game, things really unravel as Sir Anthony Dominguez gives up 3 runs in 1/3 of an inning, including a home run. Junior Caminero, 4th home run in the campaign. That comes in the 9th inning with the Rays down 3-2, and you would have Lucas Sims give you a pair of outs out the bullpen scoreless, but again, damage by then, it had been very much done. For the Milwaukee Brewers, they do find a way to be able to get the job done against the Toronto Blue Jays. 2-1 the final. 2 very much struggling pitchers were able to have themselves a nice day in this one. As for Brandon Sproat, 6 2/3 innings, he allows 1 run. Patrick Corbin, 5 2/3 innings, he allows a run. Tommy Nance gives up a run in 2/3 of an inning as the Brewers, they bunted their way to victory. Joe Mantiply, a scoreless inning. Louis Varland, pair of outside the bullpen scoreless for the Brewers. Anel Zerpa, Trevor McGill, both on the scoreless inning, and Aaron Ashby, an out of the bullpen scoreless to be able to get that one into the winner's circle. Sacramento has seen just 1 under in their games thus far this season. At home, on the road, very, very many more unders. But the Rangers, well, they Walker Texas their way to a 9-6 win. Jack Leiter does get Leitered up, 3 runs allowed in 5 2/3 innings. So does Jacob Junis, 3 runs allowed in 1 1/3 innings. But you had Robert Garcia, Tyler Alexander, along with Jacob Latz, all give you an out of the bullpen scoreless. Cal Quantrill, yes, that Cal Quantrill comes in the 9th inning scoreless to be able to get the W in for the Athletics. Jacob Lopez, 2 runs allowed in 5 innings, and then the bullpen imploded. Luis Medina, 2 runs allowed in 1 1/3 innings. Scott Barlow, pair of outs out of the bullpen, gives up a run at Jack Perkins. He goes for a scoreless inning, and then Justin Cerner, 4 runs, 3 of which were earned, allowed in the 9th inning. As going deep in this game, you had Josh Young get home run number 1 of the campaign. For the Astros, things not necessarily great for them right now. They fall to the Colorado Rockies by a count of 3-2 as Chase Dollander was the bulk guy in this game. Juan Mejia, pair of outs to begin the game. He gives up 2 runs. Dollander from there, 5 1/3 innings, gives up 1 hit, 9 punch-outs, no runs allowed. Jaden Nill, Jeremy Erged, Victor Vodnik, all in a scoreless inning. And Ryan Weiss, the, shall we say, bulk guy in this game, the opener / he was expected to be the opener, but actually went 3 2/3 innings, allows 2 runs, both of which were earned. Hunter Goodman took him deep, 5th home run in the campaign. From there, AJ Bluba and Kai Wei Tang both give you 2 scoreless innings apiece. You had 1 1/3 innings out of Christian Roa. He gives up a run, but nothing doing for the Astros. So the Colorado Rockies, they find a way there. And then for the San Diego Padres, 5-2, they're able to get the job done against the Seattle Mariners. For the Mariners, they go 2 of 9 with men in scoring position. And Luis Castillo, 4 runs, 1 of which was earned allowed in 5 1/3 innings, but his own throwing error caused for the unearned runs. From there, you had Cooper Criswell give you a scoreless inning, 1 2/3 innings out of Cora Wilcox. He gives up a run along the way, and Walker Buehler starting to find it a little bit more. 2 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings. From there, Bradley Rodriguez and out of the bullpen scoreless. Adrian Morejon, 5 outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Jason Adams, scoreless inning, and then Mason Miller, he polishes off that 9th inning. And if you're taking a look at trend-wise, what we're getting in Major League Baseball right now, it's been a lot of overs thus far this season, and in the last 7 days, it's been overwhelming. 56 overs to 37 under, so darn near a 60% hit rate to the over. Favorites on the money line, they're starting to restore some order, 52 and 41, so hitting at a little bit over 55.5% over the last 7 days, with out of those favorites, all but 8 being able to cover the run line. You take a look at season to date, favorites, they're hitting at a hair above 54%, 149 and 126 on the money money line with having all but 22 of them cover the run line, and then the over rate just a hair below 54%, 146 overs to 126 unders. So that's what we're seeing in baseball right now, and that's where we're all getting trend-wise. Coming up next, how about if we do chat it up with our good friend William Boor of Action Network right here on the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the VSiN family of podcasts.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the VSiN family podcast. Always great to be joined by this man, as we've got William Boor aboard. He does such great work over at Action Network, looking at this great game that we all know and love of baseball, and really everything. He's the main deputy editor over there, so he's doing a great job taking a look at everything in the betting landscape. You're able to follow him on the old Twitter /X at the letter W, his last name Boor, B-O-O-R, all together. And William, great to get you aboard. Thank you.
Of course, Greg. Always happy to hop on and talk some baseball with you.
Always great to have you aboard, William. And now we're about 3 weeks through the season thus far, and I feel like the theme continues to be these young teams and these young players being able to step up. Want to get your perspective here because it's been really refreshing to see.
Yeah, it's fun. It's really exciting. I like that a team's players are defying expectations, performing in ways that we didn't necessarily expect. As a straight fan, it's really exciting and fun. Maybe as a bettor, it might be kind of frustrating and annoying as we're still trying to fine-tune numbers and adjust and see where things are. But it's been an exciting start to the season, and that's really all you can hope for.
Oh, it certainly has been. And William, when it comes to some of these younger teams, is there one or two that you think might be a mainstay? Because like we've seen the Nationals be able to rise up with their offense, the Pirates are off to a nice start to the season. Is there one or two that you pinpoint in particular and you're liking what you're seeing and you don't think that might just be a flash in the pan?
I think the Pirates are definitely interesting, but I'm not going to, give up on the Cubs or the Brewers in that division. I know we talked about the Marlins last time that are really interesting as well. The Nationals, I don't trust the team as a whole, but the offense is fun. So they could be a team to kind of look for overs or maybe team total overs or stuff like that. I don't think, especially in the NL East, they're going to stay necessarily around 500, but they do hit. So they're a fun team to at least watch for half the game.
Oh, it certainly is, and it has been a lot of fun to be able to watch those teams thus far, and when it comes to what we're going to be getting on Friday, it should be interesting because we do have a few TBDs that are going to be out there on the board, but I'm very intrigued by this Cleveland Guardians team because, once again, offense has been a little bit hit or miss for them thus far, but pitching has been pretty rock solid, aside from Tanner Bybee, who's had a rough start to the season, but if you want rough starts to the season, Chris Bassett on the flip side, boy, that has been a rough start to the season. Guardians are right around minus 130. What do you make out of a spot like this? Because I just don't know if Chris Bassett is going to find it this season. And for the Orioles, it felt like they made a lot of good offseason moves. It just feels like a case where, once again, it's not working out for them.
Yeah, which is weird because the offseason looked good. Everyone obviously gets that P. Alonso thing. I think, to me, when I look at this game, you're right. The Cleveland offense has not been good, which I guess if you're struggling offensively, seeing Chris Bassett on the other side is fine. Tanner Bybee's numbers, they don't look good. I mean, his ERA is at over 6 and Bassett's at 9. So Bybee's ERA is at 6. But if you dig a little deeper, I mean, 8 runs on 11 hits over 4 innings in his last start on April 12th against the Braves. I think that just skews things so much, especially this early in the season, that it's kind of a lot easier to write off a start that's that bad versus if someone's giving up, 3 this time, 4 this time, 3 again, 4 again, then you're kind of like, okay, that's what he is. When you've got someone who his 2 starts prior gave up 1 run over 4, 1 run over 4 and 2/3, so just 2 runs, and then he gets shelled for 8. To me, it's a lot easier to just kind of ignore that and be like, okay, I can probably bank on another solid start from him.
Yep, I think that is so well said. And with Bassett, I just don't know if that positivity is going to be coming there for him. I'm a believer in Tanner Bybee, and going back to last year, Bybee had some very demonstrative home and road splits, as well as we do have William Boor, who does such great work over at Action Network, joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show. And then one of those young teams I've been talking about quite a bit is the Pirates. They're going to be playing those to the Rays, and the Rays offense has been quite good thus far this season. That totals between 8 to 8.5. Pirates are about a minus 140 favor. What do you make both out of this game and the Rays in general? Because I've really liked what I've seen out of them.
Yeah, Rays is really interesting. I think they're always like a well-run team, but we weren't really sure what they would do in that division. Part of that goes back to, we all thought more of the Orioles offseason. We knew the Yankees were going to be good. Boston kind of finished strong last year. Toronto was obviously in the World Series. So I don't necessarily know if people were doubting the Rays because of the Rays or more of just doubting like, hey, like where do they fit into this loaded AL East? And maybe they're going to finish last or fourth kind of by default. But you're right. They've really hot start as we're recording this. They've won 6 in a row, 8-2 in the past 10. They're hitting well. They've scored the most runs in the AL East, which if you told me that 3 weeks ago, I would not have guessed that at all. They're really fun. I'd probably like them tomorrow, even though Pittsburgh is a team we talked about as well that would, also liked and also off to a fast start.
Yep, they certainly are, and I do think that that's going to be a fun one. I'm liking what I'm seeing out of both of these teams with the Rays. I do think that that offense is going to be a mainstay, and do you think that the Rays do have a chance to be able to compete out there in the AL East? Because it feels like the Blue Jays are a mash unit, the Yankees have been all over the place, the Red Sox have been a disappointment, and we just went through the Orioles. I think the Rays might be one of those mainstay teams this year.
Yeah, I think they're a team that I think sets up better for, the regular season and a postseason series because of, lack of, big time star power and maybe some depth. Yeah, I do think they'll be around. Like they're hitting better than we expected. They're always, a very functional organization. They do all the things on the margins really well. Will they win the division? Will they be in the wild card? I don't know. But if you're telling me that like in mid to late September, like we're watching Rays games intently because it impacts something, I could definitely see that happening.
Yep, I'm right there with you as we've got ourselves just an interesting race out there in the American League East. And would you say that that might be the most, shall we say, disappointing division thus far? Because I had high hopes for so many of those teams in the division, and it feels like the Rays are the lone team that is not disappointed thus far.
I would say the two Easts maybe are the most disappointing.
Oh, yes, both Easts.
The Phillies and the Mets both being under 500 is probably a bit surprising as well. So I don't know. I guess you can toss up with those, but I'll definitely agree with you that the East, plural, have been the most disappointing.
Oh, no doubt about it. And how about if we do talk a little bit more about the NL East? Because the Mets have been just a big, giant disappointment thus far this season. Starting pitching has not been great. As we know, they're dealing with the injury to Juan Soto, and now they've got a day game out there in Chicago after they were playing those night games out there against the LA Dodgers. They were able to get a day off, so that helps them out a little bit. But, I mean, what do you make out of this Mets team and them sending Kodai Senga to the mound on Friday?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be on the Cubs day game at home against whatever's going on with the Mets. I don't know, because this is a team, obviously, a lot of expectations, a lot of hype going into the season. I know you lose Alonso, but there's still, you mentioned Soto obviously hurt, but like there's still talent on this roster, but it is just not coming together. I mean, Senga giving up 7 runs over 2 innings to the A's is insane. Multiple walks in every start this year already. Stuff's just not clicking for seemingly that whole roster, and it's weird. The only thing that kind of helps them is that I mentioned, the Phillies kind of also underperforming. Atlanta's picked it up a little bit of late, but they didn't necessarily run away with it. They're only, 12-7. So I think we're still early in the season. There's time for the Mets. You don't need to panic anything in mid-April, but it's not looking good.
Absolutely. It is not looking good, but that said, it is very early on. If the Mets can get back Juan Soto, I think that that's going to be big for them. And then on the flip side, in the other part of that matchup for the Chicago Cubs, what have you made out of them? Because the guy that's going to be going on Friday in Edward Cabrera, he's been very rock solid thus far, but it feels like the Cubs have been a little bit wobbly and all over the place as well.
Yeah, it's just some inconsistency, though. I mean, if you look at some stuff, it's kind of some bullpen issues. If you look at the Cubs, like run differential, they're plus 19. Obviously, it's early in the season, but it's better at any point to be plus than a minus. Their expected win-loss is 11-7 as opposed to 9-9 with their actual record. So they should have 2 more wins. I think they're playing fine. I think it's kind of just bad variance for them so far, and I think it'll eventually even out. I've already bet them on Friday, so hopefully it evens out Friday.
Yep, exactly. I do think that it is going to be able to even out just a little bit. And when it comes to just what we've seen out of the Chicago Cubs, them leaving so many men in scoring position. That's been the bugaboo for them. Water should be able to find its level with that as well. And when I take a look at this matchup, this is a fun one between the Nationals and the Giants because the Nationals have been one of the best offenses in all of baseball thus far. Logan Webb always pitches better at home rather than away from home. Total is 8 with the Giants really struggling on offense. How do you take a look at this one? Because with the Nationals, I do think that their offense might be a mainstay. I think it's fair to say that their pitching sucking is probably going to be a mainstay as well. And I feel like this might be that classic really good over team for the entirety of the season. And 8 just feels too low on this total.
Yeah, I mean, the total here is obviously paying respect to Logan Webb, which I get historically. This year hasn't quite been the same. So I don't know, is this the year that the dam breaks with Webb, or is this just a slow start? And I think that's kind of what you're deciding when you want to play this total.
Yep, I do think so as well. And I do think that that's going to be interesting to dive in on as well. And then the Red Sox, they have been very struggling. They are about minus 130 favorites against the Tigers, who have very much been struggling. Ranger Suarez versus Casey Mize. I think that this might be a tough game to be able to handicap and gauge, but any sort of way that you're looking at this one, because these are two struggling teams that badly need this game.
Yeah, I am passing on this because both these teams, I'm not really sure what you're getting out of. Tigers back and forth game with the Royals on Thursday. I don't know if that gives that walk-off win, 3 runs in the 9th, gives them some momentum if you want to kind of maybe play that angle. But they're a team that like really needs to get going. We had a lot of expectations of them in the year. So maybe that walk-off win on Thursday, happy flight to Boston, maybe that gets them going. But that's kind of a series where I just want to wait, watch, see what happens, then pick those teams up next week.
Yep, I think that we need to see one go through the hoop for both of those teams because, man, it's been rough for both of them to start the season, to say the least. And we've got all 30 teams in action here, William. We've talked about quite a few games. Anything else that you might be looking at? I recognize that there's a lot of games off the board, so being able to find a betting angle on a few of these might be a little bit tough overnight. But is there just a game or two that we haven't touched upon that is really catching your attention?
I think we touched on all the big ones. I'll also probably be on the Diamondbacks at home, Soroka on the mound against the Blue Jays. The other thing I'm going to do, not all books let you do this, but I like doing it for weekend series, is just betting the series price. And if you take the Dodgers to win the series against the Rockies and the A's to win the series against the White Sox, you can parlay those two together at plus money right now. So that's probably something I'll be on as well, kind of a full weekend play.
I do think that that's a good way of looking at things, and I do think that even the Rockies are more respectable this year than they were last year. That's only not saying a whole lot considering what they were last year. Still a team that I do want to be very much betting against, and what I always want to be betting on is you providing great information like you did, William. You always do such an amazing job whenever you're on this podcast. You do such amazing work over at Action Network and so much more, so let the good people at home know it's all on tap for you and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
Of course, find me on Twitter at WBoor, WBOOR, in the Action Network app at William Boor _, all one word. Be sure to check out our website, download our app, all sorts of betting content for everyone. We have stuff on pretty much every baseball game every single day. We're going to have WNBA up in a couple weeks. Obviously, NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, Kentucky Derby is a couple weeks away, all sorts of good stuff.
Yes, and William, he is doing a whole bunch of good stuff every single time he joins me, lends such great insights. Did so once again today. So big thanks to William for joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the Beats and Family Podcast. Up next, I get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Friday as we touch them all.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the Beats and Family Podcast. It's always great to be joined by William Boor. He does such great work over at Action Network, taking a look at this great game that we all know and love of baseball. Every single time he joins me, he lends such great insights. Did so once again today, so a big thanks to William for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Friday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at @GUnit_81. We are going to be going in Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go with the National League games first, then the American League games. Any interleague games, those are going to be at the bottom. That'll keep things all nice, neat, clean, and easy. And hey, we do have a day game on the board. Let's start off with that. 901-902. It's the Metropolitans on the road against the Chicago Cubs. Edward Cabrera is on the bump for the Cubs, and Kodai Senga goes for the Metropolitans. The Mets do find themselves between plus 115 to plus 120 underdogs, minus 135 to minus 142. That number on the Cubs with a total of 9.5. Over is minus 120, and the under is even. Made a total of a 9.4. So 9.5 is my pretty much minimum buy point on the under. You do take a look at the Wrigley Field wind situation, and it is very much going to be blowing out on Friday. Looks like we're going to get 10-mile-per-hour winds towards the beginning part of the game, and then towards back half, probably closer to 15. Not necessarily the warmest temperatures out there, but it's starting to get closer to about 70. There might be a little bit of precipitation in the area, so wind is very much going to be blowing out. But Edward Cabrera, he is a little bit of a strikeout artist throughout his career, has been able to get about 10 strikeouts per 9 innings, and I've liked what I've seen from him thus far in a Chicago Cubs uniform. A 1.62 ERA throughout his 3 starts, so small sample size last year with the Miami Marlins. 3.53 ERA, was only giving up about 1 home run per 9 innings. Big thing for him is that the walks have always been an issue. Career 4.5 walks per 9 innings, got that down to 3.1 walks per 9 innings last season. And then on the flip side of things, you do have a guy in Senga that does a relatively solid job in terms of keeping the ball in the yard as well. For his career, he's only been giving up about 1 home run per 9 innings. Last season had command issues as well, 4.4 walks per 9 innings. And for Senga, right now is a 7.07 ERA with a 3.80 fielding dependent. I do think that there's going to be some positivity due in for him, and he faces off against the Chicago Cubs team that there also should be some positivity with the fact that, man, I mean, these guys just have not been able to hit with runners in scoring position. Like, maybe I'm just looking at the wrong thing or something like that, but feels like the Cubs have gotten a lot of men on base and have just failed to be able to drive them in thus far, and the power just seems to be a little bit down for the team. Pete Crow Armstrong has just been a shell of himself ever since the All-Star break last season. You've had a really rough start to the season for Michael Busch, hitting well below the Meadows line of a 200. Dansby Swanson is now up to 4 home runs. He's been able to get it going, not hitting for much average, but he and Ian Happ both have been able to give you 4 home runs apiece. Alex Bregman is now starting to pick it up a little bit, so that's a good sign for the team. And Carson Kelly continues to move the line. He and Moises Ballesteros at the catcher spot, both hitting above a 300, but I knew have had quite a few slow starts for the team. Matt Shaw starting to pick it up a little bit more. And then on the other end of things, you've got a Mets team that without Juan Soto, it's been really, really rough for them, to say the least. And we'll get into the bullpen in a second, but that's been rough as well. Bo Bichette, he's right now giving you a 271 on base with 1 home run. The team is averaging less than a home run per game this far this season. Francisco Alvarez has 4 home runs. Somebody else on the team has more than 2 for Luis Robert. 371 on base, pair of home runs. He's been able to come up relatively good for the team, but Marcus Semien, Francisco Lindor, both hitting below the Meadows line of a 200. Carson Benjay is someone that they're giving at bats to. He and Ori Polanco both hitting below a 200. And I do think that there's going to be a turnaround for some of these guys, but Mark Vientos, after a nice first week and a half of the season, he's been going downward as well. And then when you take a look at the bullpen, Oscar Brisbane, Brooks Raley have both been rock solid going back to the beginning of last year. But I mean, man, Luke Weaver in a Mets uniform, an 8.10 ERA thus far. Devin Williams got completely destroyed in the last series. I think both of these guys do pick it up a little bit. I think that there's some positivity, but right now I think that the Cubs are in a little bit of better form. So my money line price at a minus 137. Want to lay the minus 135 with the Cubs, and here at a 9.5, like the under, semi total 9.4. 903, 904 on the card. The Atlanta Braves are going to be on the road against the Philadelphia Phillies. Taijuan Walker is on the bump for the Phils. Martin Perez is on the bump for the Atlanta Braves, and for the Braves, they do find themselves right around about minus 105 to minus 110. Right around minus 110 is that number on the Philadelphia Phillies. 9 to 9.5 is the total on the 9.5. Under is minus 120. The over is even on the 9. Over is minus 115. Under is minus 105. Willing to lay a minus 110 with the Braves. I set it at a minus 111, so wouldn't want to go past a minus 110, but that's it for Martin Perez. Just all throughout his career, he's been much better in the first half of seasons rather than the second half. Last year notwithstanding, mainly because he was just so injured last season that you really didn't have too much of a sample size whatsoever. But for Martin Perez, he's a guy that's going to pitch quite a bit of contact. You go back to what he did last season, and he was only getting about 7 strikeouts per 9 innings, but did a nice job keeping the ball in the yard with about 1 home run per 9 innings. Throughout his career, about 3.6 4.2-ish walks per 9 innings. He's not a guy that does anything great, but he does a great job in terms of just keeping things out in front of him, not getting completely destroyed, and oftentimes Taijuan Walker just gets completely destroyed. For our good friend and Mr. Taijuan Walker, right now he's applying a 7.36 ERA, fielding dependent is more around about a 6.50. He has given up 2.5 home runs per 9 innings. It's been relatively rough on that front, to say the least, and now has to face off against an Atlanta Braves team that they look like they are starting to find that peak form that they had a few seasons ago. Back when in 2023 they led the league in 5.75 runs per game. Don't know if they quite get back there, but man, you've got Matt Olson. With that season he had 50 plus home runs, has had 29 each of the last few seasons. It looks like he's back in good form. Austin Riley hasn't even been himself coming off of injury. Ronald Acuna Jr. has gotten off to a slow start, but you've had Mauricio Dubon hitting above a 300. Drake Baldwin, 5 bombs, hitting above a 300. You've been able to get good production as well out of Ozzy Albies, 4 home runs. He's hitting above a 275. So, I mean, all across the boulevard, Dom Smith has been solid, and this has been a top 3 team in terms of bullpen ERA as well. Tyler Kinley, since coming on over from the Rockies, has been able to supply a sub 250 ERA. Dylan Lee, Robert Suarez, these guys are relatively good, and Raciel Iglesias had a very bad year last year. It looks like he's back in good form this season. On the other end, for the Philadelphia Phillies, going out on is one of the better closers that you're going to find in all baseball, but Jose Alvarado, ever since that drug suspension last year, has not been the same guy. They are getting Orion Kirkring off the injured list. That should help. And Brad Keller, sub 350 ERA last season with the Cubs, hasn't looked like himself here with the Phillies. And for the Phillies, Alec Boehm just needs to get it going right now. He has been off to a rough start to the season, hitting about a $145. Bryson Stott, he's hitting only about a 205 as well. With Justin Crawford, he's doing a nice job getting on base, hitting about a 285. Bryce Harper starting to find a 355 on base, 4 home runs, and Kyle Schwarber has been all or nothing. How about him? 14 hits with 6 of them being home runs thus far this season, but still giving you about a 380 on base. Did somebody total 9.4. I do think that Perez in that bullpen does enough to keep you under, so do like the under. And for the Braves, willing to lay up to a minus 110 on that money line. 905, 906 on the card. The Giants are on the road against the Washington Nationals. Zach Littell is on the bump for the Nationals, and Logan Webb goes for the Giants. Giants do find themselves as a pretty good size favorite here. They're between minus 155 to minus 160, and between plus 130 to plus 140. That number on Washington 8 is a total. The over and the under are both at minus 110, and if you're looking to lay a run half right now with the Giants, you're going to be finding that right around about a plus 110 or so. And with the Giants, I'm willing to take that run line. I don't necessarily want the money line here because I think that you get a higher scoring game. For Logan Webb, you look at his career, 290 home ERA with about a half home run per 9 innings in San Francisco away from home. That goes up to about 0.8 home runs per 9 innings, 398 ERA. Zach Littell, 381 ERA last season, but a 488 fielding dependent. He gives up just too much of the deep ball, 1.7 home runs allowed per 9 innings. He was only getting about 6 strikeouts, 6.1-ish per 9 innings last season, and it's happening again this year. He's got a 4.20 ERA because he's given up 7 total runs, but he's given up 5 home runs. Like, how do you have only 7 runs given up if you've given up 5 home runs? Like, he has been very, very lucky that there has not been more damage done to him, but I mean, for the Washington Nationals, this is right now a top 5 team in terms of run creation. James Wood is coming off of a 30 home run season. He's been rock solid this year, giving you over 375 on base, 5 plus home runs. CJ Abrams, 5 plus home runs. Brady House, Dallin Lyle, they're starting to move the line for this team. You've been able to get Jacob Young going a little bit more. Joey Weimer's been great. Joe Barrett Vivas in the at-bats that he's been seeing, he's been able to get on. And then on the other side of things, you've got a Giants team that they have really not generated a lot of offense. They're currently a bottom 3 team in the big leagues in terms of run creation. I think it gets a little bit better. Like, Rafael Devers is probably never going to be what they paid for him, but I also do think that he's better than a 266 on base with 2 home runs. Matt Chapman, he's getting on base, hitting at 270, but only 1 home run out of him. William Adames is up to 3 home runs. He's actually having a respectable season thus far, but 9 home runs in 18 games for the Giants. I do have to think that it goes northward. The entire outfield has just been a little bit of a disaster class for this team. You've had Eloy Ramos, Jungle Lee, the currently injured Harrison Bader, all these guys hitting just really for no power whatsoever. With Jungle Lee, he's up to hitting for about a 246, but all 3 of these guys at sub 305 on base. And for the Giants last year, they were 4th in the league in terms of bullpen ERA, but they do lose the likes of Camilo Duvall and company at the trade deadline. They are dealing with a few injuries, with having Gio Piguero on the injury list that hurts them. Keaton Wynn is a nice long guy, though. JT Brubaker, Ryan Walker, these are guys that could be presentable, shall we say, relievers. Eric Miller last year had a sub 2 ERA, has not been the same this far this season, but I do think that he's going to rebound a little bit. So it's an interesting circumstance here. Logan Webb, he's not the same way from him, but I'm just not in on Zach Littell. Plus 110 or better, willing to take a shot on that Giants run line. I do like the over. Somebody total 9.1, 907, 908 on the card. It is the Brewers, and they are going to be on the road against the Miami Marlins. Now, we do know that Jansen Junk is going to be on the bump for the Miami Marlins. Right now it's listed as TBD for the Milwaukee Brewers, and that is a big reason why this game is currently off the board. This was supposed to be Kyle Harrison's start, but he has been pushed back. Right now, a lot of people are thinking Robert Gasser is going to get the start. I think that you're going to get a lot of bullpen pitching in general for the Brewers, so as a result, I set Gasser / the bullpen as plus 113. So plus 114 or better looking at the Brewers, minus 112 or less looking at the Marlins on the money line. And with the total made that an 8.28 or less, I do like the over 8.5 or higher, the under with Gasser. He saw very limited innings at the big league level last season. Last season, he was only able to get up there for 5 2/3 innings. Didn't look bad in the small sample size that he had, but it was a very, very small sample size, so I'm not going to be able to take too much out of that. At the minor league level, he's been a highly touted prospect. He's been a good swing and miss guy thus far this season for the Nashville Sounds. He's only made 2 total appearances for 9 innings, but still, he's been able to get this season 15 strikeouts per 9 innings. More throughout his career, he's closer to like a 10.5, 11 strikeout per 9 inning guy. Does a solid job in terms of keeping the ball in the yard, but it's very unproven at the big league level. Meanwhile, for Jansen Junk, he's a guy that is just going to keep things out in front of him. He does a nice job in terms of not walking guys. Last year, less than 1.5 walks per 9 innings, but he was also only getting about 6.2 or so strikeouts per 9 innings. This season, the strikeout stuff has been up a little bit, 12 strikeouts in 16 2/3 innings, but does leave himself vulnerable to giving up quite a bit of contact. As we know, the Brewers, this is currently a very banged up team. Christian Yelich, Jackson Chourio, both being on the injured list, hurts them along with Andrew Vaughn, but still William Contreras sitting above a 300. Gary Sanchez and Jake Bauers have both given you 5 home runs apiece. Do have to think that Sal Frelick is going to pick it up. He's hitting below a 200 right now. Brandon Lockridge has been able to move the line. Guys at the bottom of the fold like Joey Ortiz, David Hamilton, clearly have not been able to hold up their end of the bargain. And for the Miami Marlins, this is a squad that has been able to do a nice job in terms of just finding a way to play small ball. Liam Hicks has been your main guy. He's been able to supply 4 home runs as far this season, but Xavier Edwards hitting well above a 300. He's very versatile, steals some bags. I like what he brings to the table. Augustin Ramirez has not really gotten going with power yet after he had 20 plus home runs last season. I think that he's going to be able to find a little bit more here moving forward. Additionally, you've not been able to get a lot of Jacob Marcy, who participated in the World Baseball Classic. I think that he, along with Roberto Hernandez, are going to be able to give you a little bit more. And Owen Casey has been going through a little bit of a rough stretch, but still has been able to show why he was such a highly touted prospect as well. And I do like this Marlins bullpen. You've got quite a few guys that last year supplied a sub 350 ERA. Andrew Nardi and Anthony Bender have struggled a little bit, but those 2 guys are there. Lake Bakar is able to give you multiple innings. John King was a nice pickup from the St. Louis Cardinals. And for the Brewers, last year they were one of the best teams in terms of bullpen ERA out there in all of baseball. Trevor McGill, Abner Uribe, they both have had cheeky starts to the season. Grant Anderson, he's able to go out there, give you some nice long relief, and I do think that picking up NL Zerpa from the Royals is going to help them out moving forward. So with the Brewers, plus 114 or better, looking at them, minus 112 or less, looking at the Marlins, and then 8 or less in on the over, 8.5 or higher, the under. 909, 910 on the card. It's the Dodgers. They are going to be on the road against the Rockies. It's looking like Tomoyuki Sugano was expected to start on Thursday, had to start pushed back, is going to get the start here for Rockies, but that's a little bit TBD. Old Oppenheimer, Tyler Glasnow is on the bump for the Dodgers, so this game is off the board, and assuming that it's going to be Glasnow versus Sugano, I set the Dodgers to where I'd be willing to lay up to a minus 178 on the run line. Set the money line price at a minus 243, so plus 244 better looking at the Rockies, and then made a total of an 11.4, 11 or less. I like the over, 11.5 or higher, the under for Sugano. He's been really good in terms of not giving out free passes, trying to keep things out in front of him, but he does give up a lot of contact and a lot of hard contact. This was with the Orioles last season. 6.1 strikeouts per 9 innings, 2.1 walks, but 1.9 bombs allowed per 9. Thus far this season, he's got a 2.16 ERA, but he's allowed 4 total runs and 4 home runs. So he's given up 4 solo home runs in 16 2/3 innings. That's going to be doing for some regression here, and now you face off against an LA Dodgers team that is pretty much the best lineup that money can buy. Shohei Ohtani did not hit in his pitching appearance on Wednesday, but he's still on pace to be able to give you like 40 home runs once again this season. And you've got Andy Paz hitting like a 400 with 4 plus home runs. Teoscar Hernandez is hitting above 300, 4 plus home runs. Will Smith last year gave you a 400 on base. And you've got Mookie Betts on the injured list, and it doesn't matter because Hai-Sung Kim does a great job finding a way on base. Freddie Freeman looks like the Freddie Freeman that we all know and love. And then when it comes to Tyler Glasnow, last season he was giving up about 4.2 walks per 9 innings, and thus far this season, a little bit shaky shaky here. He did give up 4 runs in his last start against the Texas Rangers and a pair of home runs, but still, all in all, he's doing a good job in terms of getting those swings and misses. He's still been getting over 10 strikeouts per 9 innings, and he's backed up by a bullpen that I think is going to be able to lock it down. Edwin Diaz was a nice pickup in the offseason. Jack Dreyer, Alex Vesia, they supplied a sub-325 last season in terms of ERA, and Tanner Scott, great Scott, 2 years ago, he was really good as a reliever for the Miami Marlins and the San Diego Padres. Had a rough year last year. I think that he's going to be able to pick it up, and for the Rockies, this is actually a very much improved bullpen. Antonio Senzatella has been really good as a long guy, and then like Jin Hill, Victor Vodnik, Jimmy Harrigan, these guys were all able to supply a sub-4 ERA last season, which when your home ballpark is Coors, that's actually not bad. And with the Colorado Rockies, typically their on-base percentage is about 80 points higher at home rather than away from home. So you've had the likes of a TJ Romfield, Troy Johnson, both be able to hit right around about a 300 with some functional power. Brenton Doyle looks a little bit improved away from home this season, as last year he hit above a 300 at home, less than a $165 away from home. I think that those splits are going to iron out a little bit. They have for Mickey Moniak as well. Entered into yesterday with 5 home runs, so he's been able to do a nice job being able to give you something. Hunter Goodman is a nice hitting catcher as well. So in this circumstance, with the Dodgers willing to lay up to minus 178 on the run line, with the money line of the Rockies need at least plus 244, and then 11 or less, like the over at 11 after I or the under 9-11, 9-12 on the card. It's the Orioles. They're going to be on the road against the Cleveland Guardians. Tanner Bybee goes for the Gardos, and Chris Bassett is the hook, line, and sinker for Baltimore. Baltimore does find themselves as an underdog here of anywhere between plus 110 to a plus 124, minus 130 to minus 145. Then around Cleveland, 8 is the total, over and under both at minus 110, and I'm going to be willing to lay with the Guardians. Set them at a minus 150. Both of these starting pitchers are having a less than savory start to the season. Chris Bassett, he has lasted 11 innings in his 3 starts thus far, 12 runs, 11 of which have been earned, 5 strikeouts, and 7 walks. Not great to say the least. Last year with the Blue Jays, a high 3 ERA, high 3 fielding independent, wasn't great, wasn't awful. He's getting like 8 to 8.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, a little bit over 1 home run per 9 innings. I think there might be a little bit of positivity, but it also looks like he might be a little bit washed as well. And for Tanner Bybee, we were talking about it with William Boor. He had that rough start against the Atlanta Braves, which has jacked up his number, 6.38 ERA with 2 home runs allowed per 9 innings this season. But again, much of that has come away from home when he was at home last season. In his home starts in 2025 in Cleveland, 3.22 ERA, 0.8 home runs per 9 innings compared to a 5.17 ERA with 1.8 home runs per 9 innings away from home. So I do think that he's going to be able to find it a little bit more with the Guardians. Obviously, this is not a lineup that is just absolutely mashing or anything like that, but you've been able to chase the water, really be able to step up for the team. He's already got 5 home runs, albeit much of that came early on during the season, but he's been able to get well above 250, find a way to be able to move the line, and that's big for the team because you do have so many guys that just aren't able to do so. Bo Naylor, Juan Brito, throw in there Brian Rocchio, hitting at 225 or lower. Kyle Manzardo's been pretty miserable to start the season. Last year, Daniel Sheeman didn't give you a lot. He's been a little bit better this year, and then you've had Jose Ramirez get off to a slow start, but hits another home run yesterday. Looks like he's back online. Flip side for the Orioles, you're dealing with a lot of injuries. Jackson Holliday's on the injury list. Jordan Westberg is as well. Like what I'm seeing out of Jeremiah Johnson, 4 home runs in the last 8 or so days, hitting above a 300. Leody Taveras has been a nice find thus far, but he can be a hot and cold guy. Samuel Basayo has not lived up to his contract at this point. Taylor Ward does not have home runs, but he's getting on base. 380 on base. He'll take that. Pete Alonso, less than a 200 average, only about 2 home runs thus far this season. And for the Orioles, they're also at a disadvantage with regards to the bullpen as well. Like Uncle Rico Garcia, he and Yunier Cano have been pretty solid to begin the season, but Tyler Wells, as a long guy, has not been able to cut it. Ryan Elsley, he looks like he's back to the Ryan Elsley that we all know and love, but it's hard to get to him with Andrew Kittredge, Felix Bautista, Keegan Aiken, among others, currently on the injured list. And the Guardians, in terms of ERA in the bullpen, it's been a little bit shaky to begin the season, but they're always finding themselves in the top 5 in terms of bullpen ERA. Now you've got Hunter Gaddis coming off the injured list. He and Eric Sobrowski, sub 350 ERAs last season. Sean Armstrong is reliable in this bullpen. Kate Smith has had a bit of a shaky start to the season. Do think that he's going to find it a little bit more. So circumstance where I did set the Guardians at a minus 150, willing to lay that money line. Maybe I tell it at 8.2. So at the 8, also in on the over. 913, 914 on the card. It's the Royals. They're going to be on the road against the New York Yankees. Cam Schlittler is on the bump for the Yankees. Michael Waka, and if he has a bad start, it's Michael Waka 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 Waka, dying Pac-Man voice going for the Royals. And with the Royals, they are an underdog of anywhere between plus 138 to a plus 151, minus 166 to minus 181. That number on the Yankees, 8.5 is the total, over and under between minus 105 to a minus 115. Made my total here in at 8.3. I'm going to be willing to take a shot on the under. Now, it's unseasonably hot for middle April out there in New York. You saw the ball very much flying out in that series against the Angels, but that said, I'm a big believer and Cam Schlittler and what he's been able to provide. Like, it's a relatively small sample size for him at the big league level, 18 career starts, but still 2.85 ERA, 3 fielding independent, 0.8 home runs, 10.8 strikeouts per 9 innings. He looks to me like he is indeed the real deal. And for Michael Wacha, he's going to pitch a contact, but he's going to do a nice job in terms of not hurting himself. Last year, 3.86 ERA, 0.8 home runs, 2.3 walks allowed per 9 innings, only got about 6.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. Has started out this year pretty strong as well. Now for the Royals, they are hurt by the fact that Carlos Estevez is currently out of the fold in the bullpen deal with an injury, but it's still a pretty solid bullpen. You've got the likes of Lucas Erceg along with Matt Strahm. That's why at a sub-350 ERA last season. Strahm coming on over from the Phillies. Daniel Lynch is able to give you some nice long relief. John Schreiber could be a little bit hit or miss, and Nick Mears has had a bit of a shaky start to the season. The trepidation comes with this lineup, as for the Kansas City Royals, this has been a team that's averaged about 3.1 runs per game thus far this season. That is a bottom 2 mark in all of baseball. Isaac Collins is currently dealing with an injury, and he wasn't doing much to start with. Jonathan India just has not been good since he got over with this team. Miguel Garcia has been hitting above a 275, but Salvador Perez, Vinny Pasquantino, both of these guys hitting below the middle sign of 200. I believe both guys have either 1 or 2 home runs apiece. You just need more there. Jack Aglione looks a little bit better than he was a season ago, but you're still going to need to get a little bit more out of him. Carter Jensen, ever since the oversleep situation, has been good, and Bobby Witt Jr., he's moved the line. He's not necessarily hitting for a lot of power, and he's gotten on base over 30 times, and he's been driven in once, so they're going to need a little bit of help there. And when it comes to the New York Yankees, it's been a hot and cold lineup themselves, because you just have the infield that's not hitting for this team. Ryan McMahon, along with Jazz Chisholm, hitting below the middle sign of 200. Trent Grisham going to the outfield. He's been rough. Ben Rice, love what I've seen out of him. He's been able to supply 5 home runs, hitting above 300. Giancarlo Stanton is not necessarily for a lot of power, but he's finding a way to be able to move the line as well. But Aaron Judge, even though he's had the home runs, 8 home runs thus far, not giving you the same on base that he has in past seasons. So, circumstance where with the Yankees, I do think that they're going to do a nice job in a little bit more of a lower scoring game. I set their money line at a minus 189. I was willing to take plus 106 or better on the run line. That's right now about a plus 125. We'll take a shot on the Yankees on the run line. And with this total, I'm in on the under. I did set my total at an 8.3, 915, 916 on the card. The Tigers are going to be on the road against the Red Sox, as Ranger Suarez is on the bump for Boston, and Casey Mize goes for Detroit. Detroit does find themselves as a underdog here of plus 110 to a plus 115, anywhere between minus 123 to a minus 131 is that number on the Sox, and total on this game, it is 8. The under is minus 120, and the over is even, and I'm going to be willing to take a shot on the over. I did set my total at an 8.4. You've got 2 lineups that last year were pretty solid in terms of run creation. Not going to call them amazing or anything like that, but with the Tigers 11th in the league with 4.6 runs per game. Red Sox were 6th with 4.8 runs per contest. Red Sox enter in the series 16th with about 4.3 runs per game. Tigers 18th with 4.1 runs per contest. I do think that there's a little bit of positivity due in here. And then when it comes to Casey Mize, last year 3.87 ERA, 1.3 home runs allowed per 9 innings. About a 3.94 ERA, closer to 1.1 home runs allowed per 9 innings here to start this season. So, I mean, he's pretty much living up to what he is for the Tigers. I do think that there's a little bit of positivity due in for this bullpen. Tyler Holton, Bryant Herter, along with Will Vest, all supplied sub 350 ERAs last season, but you've got Kenley Jansen as your closer. That's really hard to trust in. And then for the Red Sox, I do like this bullpen as well. They were number 2 in terms of bullpen ERA last season. They picked up Danny Kaloum in the offseason, sub 3 ERA last season. And then Greg Weiser, Aroldis Chapman, Garrett Woodlock to be able to lock down a game late. I mean, that's been great for Chapman, sub 150 ERA in a Red Sox uniform. And for the Red Sox, they currently are dealing with Wilson Contreras, dealing with a little bit of an ailment. So that hurts them because he's been one of their more consistent guys, over a 360 on base, 3 home runs. So we'll see what he's going to be able to do moving forward. Wilder Abreu, he's been able to while out 3 home runs. He's been giving you over a 300 average. Roman Anthony not moving the line the way that he did a season ago. I like what I've seen out of Ceddanne Rafael. It doesn't give you a ton of power, but sitting at 300. The big thing is the infielders like Trevor Story, Caleb Durbin. They've been off to a little bit of a rough start to the season. Story, just a perennially slow starter. I do think that they're going to give you a little bit more moving forward. And for the Detroit Tigers, Spencer Torkelson, Riley Green, these were really good home run hitters last season. They just have not been able to provide that thus far this season. Much of the Tigers team has been able to do an okay job in terms of moving the line, like Riley Green, 350 on base, but only 1 home run out of him. Torkelson is stuck on 0. Dylan Dingler has been your main home run hitter. 4 home runs. He's been able to give you about a 360 on base. Gary Carpenter, 3 bombs thus far, but he's hitting below the middle line of a 200. Gleyber Torres, there he's finding a way to move the line along Cole Keith. Keith has been hitting well above a 300 along Kevin McGonigal. So I do think that both of these offenses get it going a little bit more. So I told it at 8.4, like the over, and I'm willing to trust in Ranger Suarez here. He's had a rough start to the season, 5.02 ERA, and the walks have been up from past seasons, but you look at him throughout his career, he's always been a better pitcher away from Philadelphia rather than in Philadelphia. Last 2 seasons, his ERA was more than a full half a point lower when he was away from home rather than when he was at home. So I actually do think that perhaps pitching in Boston might be a little bit of a good thing for him. I do think that Water finds his level. Last season, he was giving up only about 0.8 home runs per 9 innings and 0.9 home runs or fewer allowed per 9 innings in every year since the beginning of 2021. So like the over, so my total at 8.4 with the Red Sox willing to lay up to a minus 135 on the money line. 917, 918 on the card. It's the White Sox. They're going to be on the road against the Athletics. Aaron Savali is on the bump for the Athletics, and Davis Martin goes for the White Sox. White Sox who find themselves between plus 122 to a plus 135 underdogs, minus 140 to minus 165. That number on the A's, and total on this game is anywhere between 9 to 9.5. On the 9, the over is minus 115, the under is minus 105, and on the 9.5, under is minus 115, and the over is minus 105. And with the White Sox, I did set them as a plus 158 underdog. I want the money line, not so much the run line here with the Athletics, because with the Athletics, this is a team that does not have the world's greatest bullpen, to call it what it is. They were in the bottom 8 in terms of bullpen ERA last season. When you're relying upon Hogan Harris, Justin Sterner, guys like this as your main bullpen pieces, not a place where you want to be. Scott Barlow and Mark Leiter Jr. Well, it looks like those guys are completely cooked. And for the Athletics, they've been averaging over 5 runs per game at home, so they've been able to really fire on all cylinders, and the ball's just flying out there in Sacramento right now. Jeff McNeil's moving the line with about a 350 on base. Recognize that Nick Kurtz has gotten off to a little bit of a slow start to the season. Brent Rooker was until he landed on the injured list along Tyler Soderstrom. I'll give you a 215 average or lower, but Jacob Wilson, he had a home run, and he's back to being able to move the line, get on base. Lawrence Butler, I don't know if he's ever going to necessarily find it, but I mean, with him having a little bit of a downturn, they've had Shea Langoliers step up, Shea Bangs for 6 home runs thus far, so love what I'm seeing there. And then on the other side of things for the Chicago White Sox, they're towards the bottom of the league in terms of run creation right now. It has been very much less than savory for them. Like, you just take a look at the lineup that they trotted out there on Thursday, and you had 2 guys in the lineup, actually 3 guys, hitting above a 222. I want to be fair to them, but I mean, 3 guys that saw an at-bat out of 11 hitting above a 222. Like, man, not great to say the least, but when you need to be able to get your offense online, you go out to Sacramento. Been able to get good power out of Mutaka Murakami. He's been able to give you 5 home runs, but he's also hitting a $167. We saw Andrew Benintendi along Coastal Montgomery last year be able to slide 20-plus home runs, do a solid job, moving the line. They just have not been the same this far this season. Both giving you less than a 275 on base without a lot of power, but you are finding an unlikely source of power in Everson Pereira. He's been able to give you 3 home runs. He's been able to hit 300. And for the White Sox, this is a bullpen that is just absolutely deplorable. Once Anthony Dominguez is your closer, that's not a place where you want to be. Grant Taylor's been a solid opener. That's been good. Chris Murphy, who might be the best bullpen piece that they have, is currently on the injured list. They had to go with a little bit of wholesale approach yesterday. Jordan Nix looks completely washed. So do think they get runs aplenty here. And Aaron Savali, he is very familiar with the Chicago White Sox. He was traded there last season. And for Aaron Savali, he's gotten off to a nice start to the year thus far. I do think that he's due in for a little bit of regression. Aaron Savali has just been an up-down all-around pitcher throughout his career. Right now, 172 ERA, but 424 fielding dependent this season, as he's only getting about 7 strikeouts per 9 innings, 3 walks, 1.1 home runs allowed per 9 last year. He was giving up about 1.4 bombs per 9, so I do like the over, so my total 9.6, and with the A's, I'm willing to lay up to a minus 157 on that money line. 919, 920 on the card. The Walker, Texas Rangers are on the road facing off against the Seattle Mariners. Logan Gilbert goes for the Mariners, and Jacob deGrom is on the bump for the Rangers. Rangers do find themselves as underdogs in between plus 108 to plus 116, minus 123 to minus 136. That number on Seattle, 6.5 is the total. Over is minus 110 to a minus 120. The under is between even and minus 110. Plus 116 is my absolute bare bones minimum buy point on the Rangers, but I'm willing to take a plus 116 and not a single cent less. Going to be looking at the money line here of the Texas Rangers. Now, for Jacob deGrom, he was giving up about 1.2 to 1.3 home runs per 9 innings last year, but still had that good swing and miss stuff. More than 9.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, fewer than 2 walks per 9. It's been a little bit shaky up and down to begin the season here, but last start was able to find his sea legs, get his ERA back down below a 3. And for Logan Gilbert, he has given up the deep ball quite a bit over the last few seasons, albeit he has been much, much better when he has been at home rather than away from home. You just take a look at the 2025 campaign, and in 2025 at home, he was supplying an ERA of a 2.24 compared to a 4.74 away from home. And at home, he was giving up about 1 home run per 9 innings away from him. That was going up to about 1.5 home runs per 9 innings, and Gilbert has become one of the best strikeout artists in all of baseball. Right now, for Logan Gilbert, he was able to get last season about 12 strikeouts per 9 innings, down to about 9.5 thus far this season, but do think that that's going to be returning to him. And then for the Seattle Mariners in the bullpen, Andres Munoz has been quite shaky to begin the season. Typically, he's one of the more sure-handed closers in all baseball. I think that he's going to be able to find his form once again. Gabe Spire, Edward Bizardo, both of these guys had a sub-3 ERA last season. And for the Mariners, this has been a little bit of a lacking offense thus far this season. It feels like they're starting to pick it up a little bit more, but a little bit uncharacteristically, they did get off to that rough first week or so start to the season. They were able to find it a bit more against the Astros. You've got big dumper Cal Raleigh, who just has not been able to deliver what he was able to do last season. I don't think he ever is going to. But hitting a $151 with 2 home runs, I expect a little bit more there. Josh Naylor, along with Julio Rodriguez, both hitting below the middle line, 200, combined 3 home runs between the two of them. You expect more there, but Luke Raley, 4 home runs hitting above 300 has been a nice surprise for them. Randy Arozarena not hitting for a ton of power, but over a 400 on base. Brendan Donovan has been a nice pickup from the St. Louis Cardinals. And then for the Texas Rangers, they were last year in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of run creation. Back there thus far this season, but Corey Seager is giving you some OP, and Jake Berger both have been able to supply 5 home runs thus far this season. Now, for Seager, he's only hitting at 203, so you need that to improve. But Brandon Nimmo's moving line, he's hitting above a 300. You need the Josh Young and Josh Smith to be able to give you more. And Young up to about a 325 on base, but only 1 home run thus far this season. Josh Smith is hitting a $175, so that's not been great. And Wyatt Langford just has never really found it at the big league level, so that's worth noting. But this is also a Texas Rangers team that last year they were a top 5 team in terms of bullpen ERA. They're back there to begin the season thus far, as you've had so many guys go out there, be lights out for this team. Cole Winn last year was supplying a sub-2 ERA. Robert Garcia, Chris Martin, they've gotten off to shaky starts of the season, but those guys were rock solid last year. Jacob Latz has been very good in long relief. Jacob Junis, that was a nice pickup, sub-3 ERA last season with the Guardians. So at a plus 116 or better, going to be looking at the Rangers on the money line. 6.5 for me is just a little bit too low. Semi-total 6.8, so also in on the over. 921, 922. It's the Pirates that are going to be playing us to the Rays, and Nick Martinez is on the bump for the Rays, and Bubba Chandler is on the bump for Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh does find themselves as a favorite here of anywhere between minus 130 to minus 143. Meanwhile, plus 119 to a plus 122 is that number on Tampa Bay. 8 to 8.5 is the total on the 8. Over is minus 115. The under is minus 105 on the 8.5. Under is minus 120, and the over is even. And with the Buccos, I did set them at a minus 133 here on the money line. So that minus 130, that's pretty much my max buy point, but I'm going to be willing to lay it. Bubba Chandler has had a small sample size here at the big league level, but I've loved what I've seen in that small sample size. A good, maybe not great strikeout artist, getting about 8.8 or so strikeouts per 9 innings overall. He has been able to do a nice job in terms of keeping things out in front of him, not get totally beaten with regards to the deep ball. 356, fielding independent with less than 1 home run allowed per 9 innings. And for Nick Martinez, he's a pitch of contact guy. Last year, 6.3 strikeouts per 9 innings, down to 5.9 strikeouts per 9 innings to begin 2026, but he's not going to give out the walks. 2.2 walks per 9 innings last year, 1.9 walks per 9 innings thus far this season. And for the Pirates, they entered into yesterday a top 10 team in terms of run creation with about 4.9 runs per game after being dead stinking last with 3.6 runs per game a season ago. Now, I think that they're better with their lineup than they were a season ago, but I do anticipate a little bit more aggression with this team. O'Neal Cruz last year was hitting like a 200. Right now, he's giving you a 381 on base, and he's been able to supply 4+ home runs, so I do think the water finds its level. Ding dong, the witch is dead. Marcell Ozuna finally got a home run yesterday. He's hitting a $127. That's a guy that in this lineup is going to be doing for some positivity, but will some of these guys like a Nick Yorkie be able to pick it up? Colton Griffin, he had that really, really bad throw out there in the field yesterday, and for him, it's been a little bit rough, but Brandon Lau has been able to get loud. He's giving you about a 375 on base. He's up to 5+ home runs to begin the season. Then on the other end of things, you've got a Tampa Bay Rays team that they were in the upper half of all of baseball in terms of run creation last year, and I don't think that they're going to be going away. Junior Caminero last year had 44 home runs. It's been a little bit down with that this year with only about 4 home runs, but back-to-back days with home runs, so now he's back in full force. Chandler Simpson, one of the best base heroes in all baseball, right now giving you a 375 on base. That's lethal. Yandy Diaz, 450 on base. He's been able for good power. Johnny DeLuca's moved the line, hitting at 275. Nick Fortes is hitting above 300. Taylor Walls is hitting above 300. And then for the Rays, the big trepidation that you've got is that the bullpen has not been typically what you expect the Rays bullpen to be, because Griffin Jackson is getting all sorts of jacked up. But that said, I do think that the former Orioles, Cole Sulzer, who served as an opener a little bit this season, along with Brian Baker are going to be able to turn things around. Both of these guys have been relatively respectable to begin the season. Additionally, I like Hunter Biggie. He was dealing with injury throughout the season last year, sub-2 ERA to begin the season this year. And I do think that for the Pirates, they're going to be able to have a little bit of upside with this bullpen as well. Don't necessarily love the fact that you've got Gregory Soto right now as your closer. But that said, you've got a guy in Yohan Ramirez who's looked much improved to begin the season. Last year, Justin Lawrence had a sub-2 ERA, and he's been miserable to begin the season. So I think that he's going to improve. Isaac Manson is able to give you some good long relief. So 7.8 is what I set my total at. I do like the under. And for the Pirates, one to lay up to a -132 on the money line. 923, 924 on the card. It is the Cardinals. They're going to be on the road against the Astros. We know that Kyle Leahy's going to be going for the Cardinals. Right now, it's all to be determined on the bump for the Astros, and that is why this game is off the board. It is looking like Peter Lambert is going to be getting some sort of appearance here for the Astros, whether that be as a starter or a bulk guy. And assuming this, I set the Astros at a -107. We'll lay up to -106 on the money line, +108 or better. Looking at the Cardinals, and then set a total of a 9.8. 9.5 or less, sit on the over, 10 or higher. The under. Peter Lambert has had absolutely no success at the big league level whatsoever. Last start he made was in 2024 with the Colorado Rockies, a lifetime 6.28 ERA, albeit he's got a 5.46 field independent, but 1.7 home runs, 3.5 walks per 9 innings. Be mindful that throughout his career, he's also pitching at Coors Field, so he probably would have been a little bit better in a normal ballpark. He last season was pitching over in Japan, and out there in Japan, he wasn't necessarily that great there either. He had a 3.98 ERA, and that's out there in Japan. That's not great to say the least, about 4 walks per 9 innings, so I really have my trepidations there. And Kyle Leahy, he was a solid relief piece last season for the St. Louis Cardinals, but now he's trying to transition into being a starter. I'm not going to say it's going like totally horribly, but needless to say, it's not been amazing. 5.14 ERA. Right now, he's been giving up over 5 walks per 9 innings, so hasn't been able to deal a lot of length. And for the St. Louis Cardinals bullpen, it's just not great with Manson Vadson, Tris Roycroft, give you over a 5 ERA. Love what I'm seeing out of Jojo Romero. He's been rock solid once again this season. And for the Cardinals, I do think that they're starting to find a little bit more long relief. What they've had to do, though, is just slug their way to victory, as Jordan Walker right now is at the top of the big leagues in terms of home runs, 8 bombs thus far. He has been able to put it all together. J.J. Weatherholt has cooled off a little bit, but still, 3 home runs, 350 on base for a rookie. That's pretty rock solid. Alec Burleson is once again giving you about a 375 on base. You've got a guy in Ivan Herrera, who last year gave you over a 360 on base. Not hitting for great average. He's got a 194 average, but a 386 on base, so he's moved the line. Victor Scott, he's able to steal some bags, and he's been able to find a way on as well. So I like what I've seen the St. Louis Cardinals lineup, and the Astros have been a top 5 team in terms of run creation as well. You just take a look up and down the boulevard. Yordan Alvarez going to yesterday, 7 home runs with a 488 on base. Jose Altuve looks like the Jose Altuve that we all know and love. 400 on base with a pair of homers. Cam Smith, 3 home runs. Christian Walker, 4 bombs, hitting at 300. Joey Looper Fido is finding a way to be able to get on base. This Astros lineup is firing on all cylinders, but you do take a look at the bullpen. Brian Abreu, who was so good for them last season, he has been awful. Roderi Munoz, whenever they've thrown him out of the bullpen, has not been great. AJ Bluba is a long guy, has given you about a 9 ERA. Cody Bolton is now on the injury list. Christian Roa is not getting the job done. Aniel De Los Santos and his very small sample size, he and Brian King both been able to slide a sub-2 ERA, but you just don't have any sort of reliability in that bullpen whatsoever with really either of these teams. So I just think that the Astros slug their way to victory. 9.5 or less, like the over, 10 or higher, the under, with the Astros one lay up to -106 on the money line, +108 or better, looking at the Cardinals. 925, 926 on the card. It's the Reds. Yes, we're on to Cincinnati. They're onto the road, facing off against the Minnesota Twins, as Joe Ryan goes for the Twins, and Brandon Williamson is on the bump for Cincinnati. 7.5 to 8 is the total on the 8. The under is -115. The over is -105. On the 7.5, over is between -110 to a -120. Under is between even and -110. With the Twins, they are between -165 to -190 favorites. +143 to a +155. That number right now on the Reds, and I'm going to take the Reds on the money line. Did some I told at a +147. Now, for Brandon Williamson, he had a rough start first time out. He gave up like 6 runs to the Pittsburgh Pirates. Last few starts, he's been a little bit better after missing the entirety of the 2025 season. 10 2/3 innings, allowing 3 runs across those last few starts. And Joe Ryan currently has an ERA of a 3.80, but a significantly lower 2.83 fielding independent, has allowed just 1 home run in 21 1/3 innings. And he's always been a better pitcher when he's been at home rather than away from home. Minnesota, especially when the weather is cold and it's starting to heat up, it's very much a pitcher's ballpark out there. Now, for the Minnesota Twins, it is a lineup that is right now finding a way to be able to get runs up on the board. I don't know how functional and sustainable it's going to be, especially with Royce Lewis currently on the injured list. But that said, you've They've been able to just find guys to be able to find a way. Josh Bell has been absolutely incredible for the team thus far. 3 home runs. He's been able to give you an on-base percentage well above a 325. Matt Wallner and Cody Clements last year were able to give you good power with over 20 home runs apiece, but neither guy hit for average whatsoever. Looking to be the exact same thing once again this season. Lucas Shaw, he's only giving you about a 225 average, but somehow, some way, they're finding ways to put runs up on the board. Byron Buxton, after a cold start to the season, he's up to 3 bombs, so they've been able to get him going. Brooks Lee has been able to do an okay job. Move the line. Ryan Jeffers has given you about a 4 on base, so do like what some of these young guys have been able to do. And then on the flip side for the Cincinnati Reds, this is a team that is in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of run creation, despite the fact that cousin Sal Seward has been absolutely incredible to start the season. Right now, he is supplying a 400 on base with 7 home runs, and Eugenio Suarez last year, 49 home runs. Probably not going to be able to duplicate that, but he has been able to find a way to be able to give you, I believe now, 3 home runs. He's giving you about a 325 on base, so you'll take that. Ellie De La Cruz, 6 bombs. He's been able to swipe some bags, 350 on base, but more of those ancillary guys like a TJ Friedel, Matt McClain, Tyler Stevenson, Navoli Marte, all in below the Bill-Sign Joiner. That's been rough, so it's been an all-or-nothing lineup, but for the Reds right now, they find themselves number 1 in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. I'm not necessarily big on Emilio Pagan, but he's honestly been dealing with a few ailments. That's not the world's worst thing for this team. You got Pierce Johnson, Brock and Roll Burke, who they brought in the offseason. Both of these guys had sub 350 ERAs at their previous stops. Tony Santillan's been rock solid. Graham Ashcraft has found himself a role in the bullpen as well. And then for the Minnesota Twins, last year they were a bottom 10 team in terms of bullpen ERA. I think that they're going to be back there once again this season. Justin Topa, Cody Funderburk last year supplied a sub 4 ERA, but Anthony Banda has been absolutely terrible with this team. Holy crud. Cody Lawyerson is right now dealing with a little bit of an injury, and then Cole Sands has never really been anything special, like the pickup of Eric Orse from the Rays. But that said, I do think that the Reds being a little bit undervalued here is a good thing. I set my total at a 7.4, so with the 7.5 to 8, like the under, and with the Reds plus 148 or better, going to be looking at that money line. 927, 928 on the card. It is the Padres. They're going to be on the road against the LA Angels. We do know that Jose Soriano is going to begin the start for the Halos. Right now, it's reading to be determined in a lot of places with the San Diego Padres. It is looking like we are going to get Matt Wallner to be able to make a start here. I'm not seeing any numbers up on this game, but I've got my handicap. I did set the Angels at a minus 156, one late, but minus 155 on the money line, plus 157 or better. Looking at the pods, and then 8.6 is my total. 8.5 or less, like the over, 9 or higher, the under, and Jose Soriano. How about the way that he has come out thus far this season? Through the first 3 to 4 weeks of the season, he probably would be winning the Cy Young in the American League. Do I think that that cools off? Yes, I don't think that a 0.33 ERA is sustainable. 1 run allowed over the course of 27 innings, but it's clear that he's putting it all together. The swing and miss stuff is there at 10.3 strikeouts per 9 innings. Throughout his career, he's given up 4 walks per 9 innings. He's reduced on that to 3 walks per 9 innings, but here's what I will say. He's had some very funky home and road splits throughout his career, and he's mostly started on the road this season. Last year, 590 home ERA, 291 ERA away from home. Away from home, gave up 0.4 home runs per 9 innings, gave up more like a full home run per 9 innings when he was at home. And for Matt Waldron, this is going to be a very interesting start because you've got a knuckleball out there, and when Matt Waldron is on, Matt Waldron is on. That's about the way that it goes with all these knuckleballers, and when he is off, boy oh boy does he get hit oh so hard. And for Matt Waldron, he spent much of last season down at the minor league level. He only made 1 start 2 years ago. He was a consistent starter, 491 ERA, did have a 426 fielding dependent, only gave up about 2.5 walks per 9 innings, but what you're going to be able to get out of him is very much a big giant roll of the dice. Again, when you got a knuckleball out there, you couldn't get anything whatsoever. Now, the one thing that the Padres do have going for them last year, they were numero uno in all of baseball in terms of bullpen ERA, but it's honestly the same bullpen as you now have Jason Adam coming off the injured list. That's going to be able to help them out. Mason Miller has been an amazing closer, but last year, you also had Robert Suarez out there. He's now on the fold. Right now, Jeremiah Estrada still with an injury. Adrian Morejon has not necessarily been amazing for this team as well. Kyle Hart has actually been okay as a little bit of a long guy. And for the Padres, the guys that you would expect to be absolutely mashing have not been able to do so this far this season. Fernando Tatis Jr. going to yesterday, 0 home runs with about a 312 on base. Manny Machado, 2 bombs hitting below the Bedell sign 200. Jake Cronenworth has had a miserable start to the season. Freddie Fermin is out with a little bit of injury, and when he's been out there, he has not been able to hit at the catcher spot. Jackson Merrill's moving line, 260 average out up to 3 home runs. And Xander Bogaerts no longer looking like a total waste of money. That's great. Ramon Laureano, 350 on base, 4 home runs. And then on the flip side for the LA Angels, Mike Trout, 4 home runs in 4 games in that series against the New York Yankees. Looks like he's back in full force. So you absolutely love to be able to see that. And They are dealing with the injury to Ore Soler. I should say the suspension to Ore Soler. I don't know if he's injured or not, but he's certainly suspended. He's not going to be playing in this game. But Joe Adell starting to set fire to the rain, hitting above a 300 with 3 home runs. Last year, the Angels just were unable to get on base. They still don't necessarily have the world's greatest batting average, but Zach Neto is giving you about a 350 on base with 5 home runs. Soler was giving you 5 home runs. And then you got Yoel Moncada, who's been completely useless at the plate, but as well Peraza, 345 on base. You'll take that. And for the Angels, it's a better bullpen than what we've seen in the past. Is it an amazing bullpen? No, it's not, but it's better with Drew Pomeranz being able to go out there, be a functional veteran. I recognize that they used up a guy like a Brett Suter in the game yesterday, and they did have to dive quite deep into that bullpen, but that said, you've been able to get some relatively good production out of Chase Silseth. He's been able to supply a sub-3 ERA. Sam Bachman is a little bit up and down, but he's been okay to begin the season as well, so a very interesting circumstance here, minus 155 or better, looking at the Angels, plus 157 or better, looking at the Padres, and then 8.5 or less in on the over 9 or higher, the under. Wrap things up with 929, 930. It's the Blue Jays. They're going to be on the road against the Diamondbacks. Michael Soroka is on the bump for the Snakes, and you've got Eric Lauer on the bump for Toronto. Total on scheme is 9. The under is minus 120. The over is even, and with the Arizona Diamondbacks between minus 126 minus 143 is that number there. Plus 108 to plus 125 is your number on the Toronto Blue Jays. Set my line at a plus 124. So right now I'm seeing that plus 125. That's my bare bones minimum buy point on the Blue Jays, but it is a buy point regardless. Eric Lauer got just completely smoked in his last start, but I do think that he's going to be able to bounce back here. Right now he's posting up a 7.82 ERA for the season, but you look at what he was able to do in 2025, 3.18 ERA, 3.85 fielding advantage, was only giving up about 1.3 home runs, 2.2 walks per 9 innings. The deep ball is a little bit of an issue, and now you do have to face off against an Arizona Diamondbacks team that last year, they were 4th in the big leagues in terms of run creation. You've got a guy in Corbin Carroll who's able to give you over a 350 on base, supply 25 plus home runs. Same goes for Ketel Marte of the Marte Parte. They are dealing with a few injuries. I know that right now at the catcher spot, Gabriel Moreno's out, but Adrian Del Castro has been able to step up. Carlos Santana being on the injured list, I honestly don't think it's a bad thing for this team. Geraldo Perdomo, typically it's above a 270. He's been a little bit rough along with Alec Thomas to begin the season, but Jose Fernandez has been very solid as a young 22-year-old. Diamondbacks bullpen still leaves a lot to be desired. Juan Murillo last year north of a 4 ERA. Same goes for Kevin Ginkel. Ryan Thompson has been solid, but I really don't trust Paul Sewald, and you still have AJ Puck on the injured list, and then flip side for the Blue Jays, this has been a very unreliable bullpen as well. You've had Brandon Little posting up an ERA like a 10 to begin the season. Louis Varland is relatively solid. He and Tyler Rogers, I think, are going to be able to be very functional for the team. Mason Flaherty, though, has been a little bit rough to begin the season, and when it comes to this Blue Jays lineup, I think that they're going to be able to get a little bit more going here moving forward. Kazuma Okamoto hitting just a 200. He's having a little bit of a tough time adjusting to the States. I think that he's going to be able to have a little bit of upside. They pick up Lennon Sosa in the offseason. Nathan Lukes is hitting below $150. I think that there's a lot of upside there. You've got Andres Jimenez, who's been able to move the line, and then when it comes to Vlager Jr., last year just 23 home runs during the regular season, and thus far just 1 home run, but he's giving you over a 4 on base, so he's finding a way to be able to move the line, get on base, so it's a circumstance where with the Blue Jays plus 125 or better, looking at that money line, and I'm in on the 9 over, so my total of the 9.1. That'll wrap things up for the Friday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Big thanks to William Boor, who does such great work over at Action Network. He joined me in the last segment. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you do have 1 or 2 ways we have fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, letters the name does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. The other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. And then from there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. Coming at you guys every single day with picks and analysis on every single game, every single day. So I'll be back with you once again tomorrow. Thank you.